I pasted a freelance contract into Claude and it found a clause that would have cost me $12,000. 3 red flags, all in plain sight, and I'd missed every single one of them. Let's be real. Nobody reads contracts carefully. You scroll to the bottom, sign, and hope for the best. Maybe you skim the payment terms. But the stuff that actually hurts you? It's buried in paragraph 9, subsection C, written in language designed to confuse. Lawyers charge $200 to $500 an hour to review contracts. That's fine for a $1 million deal. But for a freelance gig? A new apartment lease? A SaaS vendor agreement? Most people just sign and move on. AI won't replace a lawyer. But it can read a 20-page contract in seconds and tell you, in plain English, where the traps are. Think of it like a smoke detector. It doesn't put out the fire, but it tells you there's a problem before your house burns down. And the best part? The most powerful option is completely free. You can paste any contract into Claude or ChatGPT right now, ask it to flag unfavorable clauses, and get a structured breakdown in under a minute. There are also dedicated legal AI tools that go deeper. We'll cover those too. I tested this with 3 real contracts. A freelance agreement, an apartment lease, and a SaaS vendor deal. Here's what AI caught. Pause. First contract, a freelance web development agreement. The kind you'd get from a small agency hiring you for a project. I pasted the full text into Claude and asked, review this freelance contract. Flag any clauses that are unfavorable to the contractor. Within about 15 seconds, Claude came back with a structured breakdown. It found 5 issues, but 3 were serious. Red flag number 1, an intellectual property clause that said all work product, including any tools, templates, or code libraries I brought to the project, would become the client's property. That means frameworks I built over years? There's now. Red flag number 2, a payment clause tied to client satisfaction. No objective milestones, no revision limits. They could theoretically reject everything and never pay. Red flag number 3, a non-compete buried in the miscellaneous section. It said I couldn't work with any of their competitors for 18 months after the project ended. For a 3-week project. That's absurd, and I guarantee most freelancers would have missed it. Claude didn't just flag these. It explained why each one was problematic and suggested specific replacement language I could propose. For example, it rewrote the IP clause to say contractor retains ownership of pre-existing tools and frameworks, and grants client a perpetual license to use them within the delivered project. That's fair. That protects both sides. The whole analysis took about 45 seconds. A lawyer would have charged $300 minimum for the same review. Now, to be clear, Claude's not giving legal advice. But it identified the exact clauses I should push back on, and it gave me the language to do it. Second contract, an apartment lease. 14 pages. I uploaded it to Contract Reader, which is a tool built specifically for contract analysis. You drag and drop a PDF and it generates a summary with risk ratings. Contract Reader color-coded every clause. Green for standard, yellow for worth noting, red for get a second opinion. The big find here was the early termination clause. The lease said if I broke it early, I'd owe the remaining month's rent plus a termination fee equal to 2 months' rent. On a $2,000 apartment, breaking the lease after 6 months would mean owing $16,000. That's not unusual, but it's the kind of thing people don't calculate until it's too late. It also flagged a maintenance clause that put most repair responsibilities on the tenant, including appliance repairs. In most standard leases, that's the landlord's job. If your dishwasher breaks 6 months in, you'd be paying for the repair out of pocket. That adds up fast. Contract Reader also generated a 1-page summary at the top, plain English, no legal jargon. It listed the rent amount, lease term, deposit details, and the top 3 risks. You could hand that summary to anyone and they'd understand the deal in 2 minutes. Pause. Now, I also tried pasting the same lease into ChatGPT for comparison. ChatGPT caught the early termination issue but missed the maintenance clause entirely. It also didn't provide risk ratings or that clean summary format, just paragraphs of analysis. Useful, but less organized than the dedicated tool. Third contract, a SaaS vendor agreement. This is the kind of thing small business owners sign when they pick a new software tool. I used Spellbook for this one, which is an AI built specifically for legal document review. Spellbook found something sneaky. The auto-renewal clause said the contract renews annually unless you cancel in writing 60 days before the renewal date. Miss that window by 1 day? You're locked in for another year. At $800 a month, that's $9,600. It also flagged a liability limitation that capped the vendor's liability at the fees paid in the last 3 months. So if their software crashed and cost you $50,000 in lost revenue, the most you could recover is $2,400. These aren't illegal clauses. They're just heavily weighted in the vendor's favor. And without AI flagging them, most small business owners would never notice until it's too late. Spellbook also highlighted a data portability clause, or rather, the lack of one. The agreement said nothing about what happens to your data if you cancel. Can you export it? In what format? How long do they keep it? Those missing terms matter more than most people realize, especially if you're storing customer information in that platform. Pause. Let me be straight about the limits. AI contract review is not legal advice. These tools can't account for your state's specific laws, your negotiating position, or the full context of your business relationship. Where AI's genuinely strong is catching patterns, the non-competes, the auto-renewals, the IP grabs. These are common traps that show up in contracts across every industry, and AI's been trained on millions of them. Where it's weak is nuance. A clause might be technically unfavorable but completely standard for your industry. AI flags it anyway, and you might waste energy negotiating something that nobody would actually enforce. My recommendation? Use AI as your first pass. Read the flags, understand the risks. If anything looks serious, especially IP assignments, non-competes, or liability caps over $10,000, that's when you pay for a lawyer. You'll spend less because you already know which clauses to focus on. Here's a pro tip. When you do hire a lawyer, show them the AI analysis. Seriously. It gives them a head start, which means fewer billable hours. One lawyer I spoke to said AI pre-reviews cut her contract review time by about 40%. That's real money saved on your legal bill. Here's what I'd do. For freelance contracts and vendor agreements, paste them into Claude or ChatGPT first. It's free and catches the big stuff. For leases and anything over 5 pages, Contract Reader gives you that color-coded risk breakdown that's worth the upgrade. And for ongoing legal review, if you're signing contracts every month, Spellbook pays for itself. The real value isn't replacing your lawyer. It's knowing when you actually need one. One last thing, make this a habit. Every contract that crosses your desk, even the ones that seem standard, paste it into AI before you sign. It takes 60 seconds. The one time it catches something, it'll pay for itself 100 times over. Links to everything are in the description. Subscribe if you want more AI breakdowns like this. We keep it practical, no fluff.